When working from home, it is really easy to fall foul of the fear of FOMO to those in the office. Historically, being in the office has been the key to progression, to creating connections, to ultimately getting ahead. From not having to commute, to saving money, to not standing in somebody's armpit on the train, working from home has been an absolute revelation. I, for one, have absolutely loved it, and it's been a real joy. A little bit of brightness in the dark times that have been COVID. Working from home would have been far harder had COVID-19 not shattered the expectation that we have to be in the office in order to do our work. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to suffer from FOMO when working from home. So being able to deal with the fear of missing out when working from home becomes super important. But how do we do that? Well, that's a good question. Firstly, you need to write down why working from home works for you. For anybody with a disability, being able to have better access to the services and the facilities that you need could be one. As a parent, being able to take your child to childcare during the day or at a time that is more suitable for you could be another. Conversely, saving money because you don't have to stand on those ridiculously long commutes in somebody else's armpit can also be a key contributor. It's really important to remind yourself why working from home works for you. Now, I know that certainly when I've been at home, it's easy to start comparing yourself to others and thinking, what actually am I doing? But stick with it. Write down the reasons why it works for you. It's called positive reinforcement. It is easier said than done, and sometimes you feel a bit silly doing it, but if you write down the reasons why working from home works for you, I promise you, sticking to your decision of working from home means that you can begin to address FOMO and reaffirm why working from home works for you. You also need to be honest about your feelings. It's easy to bottle things up, but wouldn't it make sense to share what's worrying you? By bottling things up, you can lead to anxiety, and I talk about this video here where how I've battled with workplace anxiety. Now, we all get it. It just starts that pounding in your chest where you're thinking, oh my word, what am I doing? We've all had it, but don't let it happen to you, especially if you're dealing with FOMO. It can overemphasize those feelings. Being honest about your feelings also helps you stay connected, but please don't suffer in silence. It doesn't have to be a colleague, it could be a family member or a friend. But bottling up how you're feeling only adds to the fear of missing out, and it can add to anxiety too. As I've talked about in other videos, you can deal with anxiety, but that is a whole different ballgame, and I don't want to talk about it here, other than say, please do check out this video where I talk about workplace anxiety. It's also really important to be proactive, i.e. raising your hand for when you need assistance. One of the biggest fears of missing out is the fear of being left out. I don't know what the acronym for that would be, but you know, just not going to the office means that you're not going to get left out. Are you potentially worried about not making future connections or future job opportunities or career progressions? We all know that we have those water cooler conversations where you just bump into somebody and that leads on to something exciting. Well, if you're not in the office, can you still have those conversations? As a leader, I'm very aware that when my teams are hybrid working, i.e. some in the office and some at home, that we don't create a two-tier system. Two tiers just make some people feel really shit, especially if you're on the blunt end of that two-tier system. So for those in the office, you want to make sure that they've got the attention they need, but those that are out of sight are not out of mind. If you are working from home and you want to battle FOMO, then you need to make a conscious effort to put yourself forward. Don't sit back and think, why me? Why me? Because that just won't help anybody. You need to put your hand up, probably take yourself out of your comfort zone, and keep putting yourself forward. Be proactive. Ask to be involved in stuff. Why not take on initiative and set up a project team or a social engagement or something that keeps you involved in what's happening? There's nothing better than doing that. It'll make you feel good, and you never know, you might actually enjoy it. But remember, you're entitled to work from home. And one of the key parts to remember is physical presence is not an indicator of doing a good job. Contrary to popular belief that everybody's productive in the office, stats show that actually, people barely get 3, maybe 4 hours of productivity out of a day in the office, which is ridiculous, bearing in mind that it's generally perceived to be an 8-hour day. Well, as I've harped on in many occasions that, the working day was established by Henry Ford back in the Industrial Revolution, it's an outdated concept. in an outdated society. But I can't do anything about that yet. But what we can do is make sure that you don't fear missing out if you're not in the office. Make the most of working from home. This could be making sure that you go for a walk at lunchtime, take the dog out, go and meet a friend for coffee, go and create maybe a luxurious lunch. You could go to town and maybe get some Spanish sausage and some nice cheese and have a bit of a ploughman salad. But it was novel at first. Working from home became this new and exciting thing for many people. Being able to work off the side of the bed, or actually even in bed for most of the day if you're turning your camera off, was a very cool experience. But 18 months later, it's beginning to wear off, but we need to make sure that we stay re-involved and reinvigorated with working from home. And that's why it's really important. It begins to tackle the FOMO. Make a conscious effort with the time or the money that you've saved to do something exciting. If you save some money, why not spend it on a nice experience during the day, or break your day up so that you get to enjoy the time that you've saved? Perhaps even take up yoga that you've been meaning to do for a long time. I've been trying to do that for a while actually. The mobility in the upper back is a bit stiff and I'd love to be super flexible, but it's hard. Maybe I should sign up for that yoga class. Okay, that aside, just make sure that you use the time and the money that you've saved wisely and in a good way, because I promise you it will help battle the FOMO of not being in the office. And finally, you can always change your mind. Yes, for those companies that haven't drastically removed all of their office space and real estate footprint, you could always go into the office if you wanted to. There's always going to be people that want to do that. If you've been working off the side of your bed or you don't have a really nice environment at home, then being able to get together and reinvigorate with people is always nice. So if you've decided that you work from home but wanted to go in, that's fine. Don't worry about it. It doesn't always have to become the norm though. If you have second thoughts and you want to join everybody else in the office, go for it. If employers are flexible enough to allow you to work from home initially, they'll be flexible enough to allow you to go into the office if you don't want to feel like you're being left out. It's worth thinking about. Now, those are the 5 tips in terms of dealing with FOMO when working from home. It is not always easy, and sometimes we can get lost in our own thoughts. Now, I've certainly had that, but also just bear in mind the benefits and the positives that happen when working from home. But that's it. That's all I wanted to talk about today. If you like this, please do check out this video here where I talk about workplace anxiety. And with that, I will see you all in the next video. Cheers.